The one with the dollhouse. Really amazing Friends episode. This is the 20th episode of the third season. It's directed by Terry Hughes, and there will, of course, be spoilers as I go through the narrative. There are a lot of things that I really love about this. It's a very, very funny episode. It starts off with Joey discussing Kate, and then Ross comes into Monica and Rachel's apartment and reveals that Aunt Sylvia has passed away. Monica's really happy about this because apparently she wasn't a nice person, and also Monica gets the dollhouse. And we'll come back to the dollhouse. We meet that in a little bit. But first of all, Chandler meets Joanna, played by Alison the Placa. And Joanna is Rachel's boss, and she's certainly very interested in Chandler. And she ends up going on a date with Chandler. And again, I'll come back to that in a little bit. So we have the dollhouse. The dollhouse is stunning. The design of it is gorgeous. I wish we'd got to see a little bit more of it in detail, but obviously having close-ups wouldn't be really the style that Friends is filmed in, but just for personal preference, I would have liked to have seen it a little bit more. Phoebe comes over to play and she brings over a giant dog and a ghost for the attic and a little dinosaur, and Monica isn't having any of this. She's not happy about this at all. So what Phoebe ends up doing later on in the episode is she ends up bringing her own dollhouse, and we have this fabulously creatively designed cardboard dollhouse. Again, we don't really get to see it in that much detail. I would have liked some close-ups, but again, not really the style of filming for Friends, so I understand it. But it's definitely basically everything Monica's isn't, and everybody else is more interested in her house, and I understand because it looks really great fun. Unfortunately, a little later in the episode, Ross comes into the apartment. Good job that he did, because I dread to think what would have happened if he didn't. But he comes in, Monica's in the shower, Phoebe's dollhouse is on fire, and this is presumably because she'd lit a candle in the aroma room, and the house caught on fire. And Ross picks it up in a panic, rushes into the bathroom where Monica is in the shower, obviously to extinguish this house. And then a little while later, we see the house charred beyond recognition. It definitely looked a lot more burnt than it should have done, given how it was only really a bit of it that was on fire, and Ross was able to pick it up and take it straight to the shower. But obviously it's there for impact, and Phoebe is devastated and heartbroken, and despite that, they managed to make her reaction pretty funny. So the dollhouse aspect of this narrative, I just loved. I absolutely adored every part of it. Going back to Chandler's story, Chandler told Kate that he would call her, even though he's not going to. And Rachel says, you have to call her, because it's making Rachel look bad. And Chandler goes back and forth with trying to get away with not calling her, then going on a date with her, trying to not say he'll call her, and then repeatedly, just on instinct, saying it again because he doesn't know how to end the conversation. And I think it's a very funny episode with Chandler. We get the quote, checking out the Chan Chan man, which is one of my favourite Chandler quotes. But it's also a great character study for how he responds to this kind of situation and what his history of relationships has been like. And I rather enjoyed that part of it. So Chandler was really great. We have some really interesting editing in this as well. That's maybe a little bit quicker than the usual editing we get. For example, Chandler says that Joanna is a big dull dud. Cut instantly to Joanna telling Rachel that Chandler is fantastic. And then pretty much as soon as she's finished talking, we cut to Joey on stage. So it's very quick. There's a lot of quick movement going on here, but it works really well. And then we have Joey's story, of course, with Joey trying to improve the scene with Kate. By injecting more heat into the scene, they end up in bed. And Joey asks Kate the following morning if she's told the director about them. She says, no, why would I? This was just one of those things. I was caught in the heat of the moment. And Joey realizes that that's how he's treated other women before. And at the very end of this episode, we have a wonderful, very funny scene where it's just Joey on the phone phoning different women to apologise for not considering their feelings when he slept with them and then never spoke to them again. And I thought that was Really, really interesting and very funny as well. So it's a really great episode. Everything about this just hits so perfectly. Personal highlights are every word that comes out of Chandler's mouth and everything with the dollhouse. Everything else, though, worked really well. It's also nice that we're taking a bit of a break from the Ross and Rachel issue. We do have a tiny glimpse of that where Rachel walks into the apartment and says something to the effect of, I need to speak with you. Ross thinks she's talking to him. She's actually on about Chandler, and that's the brief moment of awkwardness. But other than that, we are taking a step away from Ross and Rachel, and I think that's a really good decision because we don't want episode after episode to be about their relationship. It's nice to focus on other people's failed relationships instead. The one with the dollhouse is easily one of my favourites from season 3, maybe one of my favourites of all time. I really thoroughly enjoy this one.